Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning to you all, and welcome to the eighth session of Book Clubs Across Border. Today, we are discussing a book. It is a novel called Iqbal, written by Francisco de Amor, and it tells the fictionalized account of the real story of a boy named Iqbal who became the symbol of a fight, a movement against child labor, not just in Pakistan, but also across the world. And he became a source of inspiration for children and, older people alike all across the world. And so today we'll be discussing about this novel, and hopefully you guys are well. You guys have read the book. You guys had great insights to share. And with that, I would like to invite our participants from Bamyan to come forward and share some of their thoughts about the book. What did you guys think? What were the things that you liked about the book? And just share your thoughts in summary about how you felt when you were reading this book. So Bamyan, over to you guys.
Okay, thank you so much. Who is volunteer for the first one to talk about this book and share their thoughts? Yeah, the first. I want to continue this one. So it's time for our last participant here. Wants to share.
Hello. Good morning. I hope
Good
you're
morning.
fine and doing well. Okay, my idea about the book I have read, it was nice. It was a great book about the story of a boy by the name of Iqbal, challenging, fighting against child labor and freeing children across Pakistan. And the aim was not just Pakistan, all the world. Yeah, when I was reading the book, it was really affecting me, and some parts really made me sad that the life of the children going on like that, living on as slave. It was very sad for me, and I was very sad. But when it comes to fighting the Hussein Khan and facing the challenges, trying to free themselves, it made me happy again. And it was really, how I can describe that, it was really nice for me, how to fight and how to free not just himself, coming back for his friends and freeing his friends and all the children across Pakistan. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. You mentioned that you felt like, there were parts of the book where you felt really sad or which really impacted you. Could you maybe share a bit about those parts as well? What was the section of the book that really impacted you, and why was that? Thank you.
Okay, there was some parts in the book that affected me a lot. The first one, or maybe the most important, could be when Salman and Muhammad, they both were somehow making a fight or creating a mess that Iqbal can run away to find Ishan Khan and those guys to help them. Somehow they were so united, and that made me really happy. They all coming together hand by hand, working to free themselves. This part made me so happy, and the part that made me made me lots of sadness came to me, or made me very sad. It was at the end when someone murdered Iqbal. Somehow it was so sad for me, and I was descended because of that. And but it was not for a long time, because someone else would come and take the part, and Iqbal's name will never forget, would never be forgotten. Thank you.
I totally appreciate this account, and I think you are correct. There is a resolution that Iqbal's name would never be forgotten, and his legacy actually continues. Despite his demise, despite him passing away, but people are still remembering him. People are still working along those lines of freeing children and all those people who are enslaved in bonded labor and child labor. So thank you for your account. Moving forward, would some other participants also like to share their thoughts about the book?
Okay, thank you. Pardon.
In the name of Allah, Namaste. मेरा नाम शम्स है और मैं चाहता हूँ कि इस बुक के बारे में आपके साथ बात करूँ और मैं बहुत माफी चाहता हूँ कि आपके टाइम वेस्ट कर रहा हूँ.
Thank you so much for speaking in Urdu, and I really appreciate it.
As I read this book, I find some main points. It's my great pleasure to share it with you all. Iqbal Masih was murdered on Easter Sunday in 1995 in Marai, a village some 30 kilometers from Lahore, Pakistan. He was about 13. His murder have never been discovered. He was killed by the carpet mafia Ishan Khan, and this Lord Iqbal's name has become the symbol of the battle to liberate millions of children throughout the world from violence and slavery. For further reading on Iqbal Masih and child labor, let's see the following sources. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for sharing, this information about Iqbal Masih. And indeed, this book is based on a real life character, a real life hero. And I hope that this book inspired you to really research more about the life of, the boy, the child, which inspired the writer to write this fictional account. And with that, I would really appreciate if someone else would also like to share their thoughts, and then we can, start discussing about some of the major aspects that we can, think about when we talk about the book Iqbal. So moving forward, could we have someone from maybe like the girls who would like to share their thoughts about reading the book, and also discussing about the perspective of considering that this book is about Iqbal, but it's written from the perspective of another child, Fatima. So maybe someone would like to talk about the characters of the book, and what did they think about the characters of the book as well. So moving on to Bamyan, over to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, hello and good morning to all of you. As you know, today we are talking about a child hero by the name of Iqbal Masih, that he was born in Pakistan, and when he was 12 years old, he could help 3,000 labor or children become free, and he was a true hero because he risks his safety to protect others. And in my idea, we can say that child labor is still a problem in many countries, for example, in India, Pakistan, and some Arab countries, and in the world, more than 158 million child workers. They work in a hard and difficult condition or situation that they couldn't go to school, they couldn't study, they couldn't read, write, and they couldn't continue their education, and they couldn't get knowledge. And unfortunately, instead of having pens in their hands, they have tools in their hands. This was all. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. And with that, I would also appreciate if someone else could also maybe talk about some of the characters that inspired them while they were reading this book. We had the character of Fatma, Maria, and and the kind of small but also impactful acts that they engaged in. For example, Maria, she made this small kite in the carpet that she was weaving. So in your perspective, what do these acts signify? Why did they engage in such acts, and what impact did they have in the story of this novel, in the narrative of this novel of Iqbal? So if someone would like to share their thoughts about that, maybe.
Okay, thank you. فاطمه مثلا دکترای دیگه که دکتر مثلا از این موضوع دیدن و اون چه تاثیری گذاشتن روی زندگی اقبال که نظر خاصی دیدن اوکی شو دکترا
Okay, hello again. About the characters from the girl's side. Yeah, there were Fatima, Maria, and these girls, and they had a great part in the story of Iqbal, the woman of Iqbal, and the main part they played was a huge part. They motivated somehow Iqbal, and whenever Iqbal needed help or to share whatever he had, he would share with Fatima and Maria. It was like sisters. Whatever they want, they could share to each other. They could talk to each other. They could share their happiness. They could share their sadness. Whenever they were sad, they were helping each other to become better again. And the times that Iqbal was in the tomb and was present by Hussein Khan, Maria and Fatima helped him a lot, taking foods and water for him to stand by and not to die. It was a good point and a good character for helping. We have an story or a saying there, behind each successful man or boy, there's of course a successful girl or lady. The story could be like that. Because the main character could be but the back character who was supporting him could be Fatima and Maria. And the time that Maria was teaching the other children to learn and write and they can read. If Maria couldn't read, I don't think so they could find Ishan Khan to help them. Because of this, it was a huge power. She taught all of them to read and write, and because of that, Iqbal could find Ishan Khan to help them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about the characters and the impact and the importance that they had in the storyline of Iqbal. And I totally believe that you really you summarized it so well. How their contributions, they actually meant a lot for the movement that Iqbal was he went on to represent. So and it was the source of a the sense of a camaraderie and the sense of a community that they had developed within this small circle of children who were working for Hussein Khan, that they were able to fight back when they had that sort of when they had a leader in the form of Iqbal, you could say. But it wasn't just about Iqbal, it was about the resilience of these small acts of Maria weaving a kite, or bringing food to Iqbal when he was put into the tomb, and then all the kids, they sort of rallied around this call that Iqbal had initiated against oppression, against child labor, against bonded labor, and what they were looking for was freedom. So in that sense, one of the themes that we can think about when we talk about the story of Iqbal is the story of resilience and the story of hope against adversity, which is very difficult sometimes. Sometimes you see the situation around you and you see the powerful factions of society that are against you, but then you have to take an initiative somewhere. And Iqbal became this symbol, this face of this entire movement, and that movement continues beyond his passing. So in that sense, there is a great legacy that he has left behind. And I would also then, continuing with our conversation with respect to the characters, and since this is a fictionalized account, so it's based on real life story, it's based on the real life experience of Iqbal and what he meant for the child labor movement, but it's also written from the perspective of the girl Fatima. So I want to discuss about this thing as well. So why do you think the writer chose to write it from the perspective of another character rather than writing from the perspective of Iqbal himself? What could be the reason behind it, in your opinion? So over to you, Bamyan.
Fatima wrote about him because he was the one who did not give up, and he tried hard to stop that conflicts.
Okay.
So I would like to follow up with this question, that how do you think the book or the story would have been different if it was written from the perspective of Iqbal and not from the perspective of Fatima? Bamyan, over to you.
Why she has written the story by her perspective. I don't have an exact answer for this. Why? But there's some small parts coming to my mind. I think it's better to not tell about ourselves a lot. For example, if I say I did this, I did that, I freed 3 million children in the world, I don't think so. It's quite affecting the people in a good way. But when others are saying you that you worked, he did this and freed all the children about the all over the Pakistan, and it was a symbol of child liberty, it would somehow affect people more than Iqbal's perspective that it is shared with Fatima. It was my idea, but I don't have an exact answer. If you have, I would love to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Someone else would like to, share some insights about why they think, it was written from Fatma's perspective. You also heard from your fellow participant. Maybe you could add something to it, or, maybe like it's the same sentiment that is echoed by you. Like that is something that you also felt. So would someone else like to contribute to this question and this discussion about why this book was written from Fatma's perspective?
Sure, we have another participant who would like to talk about this.
Hi, good morning. I think Fatima wrote about Iqbal because he is a hero in Pakistan, not just in Pakistan. He is hero all around the world, especially for these countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, that most of the children, they work because of economical problem, or maybe they have another problem also. Maybe they don't have a leader, or they don't have anyone to work for him to pay money for them. They are working for that. And Fatima shows by writing this book, she want to show all around the world that someone should stand for children right, and it is the children right that they should learn, or they have to educate, and the family should educate them. And I think that if in the end of the story we wrote we understood that Iqbal died, someone killed Iqbal. By that way, in this way, I understood that if one Iqbal die, another Iqbal come. It means one hero. If one hero, and then if he die, another will come. It continues, and if bad people, are trying to get money from children, then they will not be hero, because another Iqbals or another heroes will come to work for children, or to free them. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. I sorry. So yeah, I was just saying that the account that you shared, I totally agree with it. Iqbal's story is a story of, inspiration and a story of impact. And I totally, it's a really lovely thought that if one Iqbal dies, there would be another Iqbal, there would be another hero. And, Iqbal's story serves as this inspiration for bringing forth the voices of such heroes all across the world, not just in Pakistan, but, all across the world. So thank you so much for sharing these insights and these thoughts. And now we are moving over to Alia Tayyibi. So she's joining us, our senior project manager from Karachi. She's joining us from our Karachi office. So Alia, over to you.
Hi everyone, lovely to see you all. Okay, so the book Iqbal, yeah, it's such a fun and inspiring book to read. It covers some of our society's harsh realities, and the topic under discussion is child labor, and not just child labor, but forced child labor, which is an evil that exists in our society, and we have to do everything that we can to ensure that this evil is eradicated forever and ever and ever, and no child in the world has to go through what these children had to go through, and a lot of children around us are still going through, right? So we hear about Iqbal, who comes to this house where there are these children who are kept in terrible, terrible conditions and forced to work. The children don't even know that there is a life outside of what they're experiencing. And they don't, but they know that they are there to pay off a debt that their family had. And regardless of however hard they work, the system is so evil that they will never be able to get out of the clutches of this evilдom, right? So regardless of however many hours they put in, however much amazing work they produce, they will just always be working, 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 right? And that's really unfair. So we find out that Iqbal is working at a carpet weaving factory, and that he's super talented because he weaves the most beautiful carpet. So he has a craft and he has beauty in his craft. So imagine if he was a free child, what all would he able to have accomplished? Maybe he would have decided to be a carpet weaver and weave beautiful carpets, but for himself, not being forced to do it for somebody else. All of us, all these children, these beautiful children were made and forced to made to work, do work, and some of them are actually talented, but because they never get to be rewarded for their talents, the reward goes to somebody else. They just get like food and a roof over their head, right? So that's just not cool, and I hate that idea. And I feel all of us reading about Iqbal and hating that idea in itself is a change. So why do we read books, right? We read books to not just create awareness or to get awareness, but also to make opinions, to form ethical and moral, uplifting standards of how to live our lives, right? And Iqbal teaches us a lot, many things. It teaches us to hate child labor. It teaches us resilience. It teaches us bravery. It teaches us courage. It teaches us to never, ever give up and to continue believing in finding freedom and independence, right? So, I mean, I love the fact that all of you kept on saying, and I loved what the last girl had to comment, that if one Iqbal dies, there'll be many more, right? Because the story of Iqbal must continue, but I wish it wouldn't. I wish Iqbal was the last child to suffer child labor. I wish and hope and pray that by reading this book, we understand the evil of child labor and try to force our societies to own up, to understand, and to respect and protect our children, right? It's very, very important. So this book for me is, by the way, one of my most favorite books in this whole collection that we share. Although I love each and every one of these books, and I truly believe that each book has something valuable to offer. But having said that, I truly believe that Iqbal is something special because it is so close to our reality. You know, when we go out on the streets, we all see children who should be in school begging or doing some menial job. Like when you go to a restaurant, they'll be the waiters. Or when you go to like a food street, they will be running around and asking to get you like pan or candy or whatever, like anything and everything that they can do. In Pakistan, we see a lot of children on the streets, especially at signals, begging for money. Okay. And it is something that breaks my heart. And I promise myself that I will not feed into the system because it is a system. It is whatever sort of help we think we are providing to the children, we're actually not. It gets fed into a larger system. It's like this whole underbelly that we exist with, but don't want to take ownership of. And that really, really burns me up. Okay. So I know that you all were talking, and I just wanted to bring a little joy into this really, really sad conversation that we're having. I was doing some research on, with new ways, because every time, a lot of times for you, the books are new, but for us, it's the same books. And we don't want our audiences to get bored. So we always look for material that could help aid in our curatorial work and bring more life into it, right? So while I was researching, I came across this beautiful animation. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds on the book Iqbal. It is done in French. So you will not be able to understand the language, but it's so simple. And because you've read the book, you'd be able to carry the plot along. As I was watching this, I constantly had a smile, okay, while I was watching this, because I don't know, there is something joyous about children and their resilience. And I want to share it with you because I want to share this joy of childhood. So let us all review this clip together. Once we are done, I want us to talk more about that clip. So I'm going to just quickly share my screen. And I'm just going to ask my host to give me permission to share my screen. In the meantime, Sana, over to you. I'll be back in 2 minutes, and I'm going to share the clip.
All right, thank you so much, Alia, for sharing your, your wonderful account of how Iqbal's story is this, this incredible source of inspiration, and obviously, the thematics that are discussed in this book are, the thematics of resilience, the thematics of bravery, courage, hope, and never giving up, as Alia said. So, Iqbal's legacy definitely continues. It's not just in the form of, the movements that are created all around the world, but, there are actual, physical impact that Iqbal has had over people. For example, physical impact in the sense of, Iqbal has led to creation of infrastructure around the world where, for example, in parts of the world where there weren't schools, there are now schools that exist, which are named after Iqbal. Iqbal, and who, and those schools are actually serving the, underserved, marginalized communities, or the communities who couldn't afford education. So, in that sense, Iqbal just hasn't, it's not just that Iqbal has impacted the movement against child labor and bonded child labor. He's also, indirectly, he has worked for, a provision of education for children as well, because, it's through education that we can thrive. It's through education that our, next generations, they can escape the cycles of oppression that have been, that they have been subjugated under by, by systems of oppression, may it be in the form of the carpet mafia in the case of the story Iqbal, or may it be in any other form that that we are being exposed to around us, or or in the world generally right now. And you might be aware of the things that are the people around the world they're facing right now, and the systems of oppression that are at play against the marginalized communities. So I think that in that sense, we should never give up. We should always keep on fighting, and Iqbal's story is a testament to that thought, to never give up and to keep on fighting. And on that note, since we are waiting for for Alia to return with the animation that she was going to share, I would like to ask you guys, how much of a menace this issue of child labor is in your local context. Have you seen examples of child labor around you as well? And in your opinion, what is what have you seen is being done to eradicate it in your local context? Maybe within within your city, or your province, or within your neighborhood. Like, have you seen examples labor neighborhood, for example, or around you? And I'd like to ask you, what should be done to eradicate this? So should we wait for an answer from Bamyan, or maybe like should we first see the animation and then move to Bamyan?
So no, please continue with the answer. I would love to know. And then once the answer is with us, then we can move on.
Okay, yeah, so Bamyan, over to you. I was going to ask you, I was asking you, in what forms have you seen child labor exist around you? And in your opinion, what should be done to eradicate it? So over to you, Bamyan.
Okay, good morning. Yes, as you said, in our society also we have child labor. And for example, some of the children are working in the restaurants, they're waiters, they're working, for example, and here also sometimes we have some carpet factory, they're working on a shop. So I think so we have to eliminate this. We have to eliminate child labor. So what we can do for this is to for example, we students also we can do something. For example, we can bring some good opportunities for them to do not be forced to work in restaurants, to work in shops. Okay, it's my opinion and it's my perspective about this.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your opinions. I think, it's very important to begin from, one person, and then that movement grows within your group, that movement grows beyond that group, and, and it keeps on growing. So the impact of a single person, I think it's really important to realize, each one of us can play a role in any sort of change. We can be change makers in our own way. And when change makers come together, they can create a revolution. That note, I would like to move over to Karachi. So over to you, Alia.
Thank you. So, guys, here's something that I wanted to share with you all. And like I said, it's in French, but because you've read the book, you'd be able to follow the plot. And let's have more talk after this.
T'es un vrai petit artiste, dis donc.
Je fais aussi du tapis dans mon village.
C'est qui celui-là? C'est Iqbal, un nouveau, il vient d'arriver. Regardez-moi un peu cette œuvre d'art.
Je m'appelle Fatima. Moi, je m'appelle Iqbal. Il est magnifique.
On n'est pas ici pour raconter des histoires. Ici, on fait des tapis. Au travail.
Tes patrons, c'est vraiment des pourris.
Et attention, vous deux. T'en as parlé à tes parents de ta petite escapade en ville? Tu m'échapperas pas, petit morveux! Ce gamin, on fout. Aidez-moi!
On a tous le rêve en soi d'être libre de nos gestes. Qu'au réveil, devant moi, plus de bruit que tout disparaisse.
So that was the film. I hope you guys enjoyed it because I really did, huh? And even though, like I said, it's in French, it still was relatable, right? So did you guys enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And what did you like about it?
Yeah, I will share what I love about this animation. I love the animation, the part that
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Could you please come closer to the speaker?
can you hear me right now?
No, it's still a slight echo. If you could come closer. And I can't even see you. So if you could come in the screen as well. Yeah,
Okay,
much better.
I was here. How about now? Can you hear me right now? Okay, about the animation you played, thanks. And the part I loved about the animation, that was the part, the good things, flowers, birds, all flying and making the animation beautiful. There was the first part, the child with their family having fun. This was the part I loved so much. And the other parts when the big guy came and took the boy, that was somehow I didn't like. Okay, it was all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, so I'll tell you which were my favorite parts. Exactly, I agree. Like this amazing concept of flowers turning into birds and it, like, you know, children on like stalks and those stalks turning into animals, all of that, like that transition was absolutely beautiful. But another thing was like, you know, the little things that we read in the book that came alive, like the carpet weaving, the angry wife, the, you know, the children being thrown into the dungeon. And then all of these things are like imagination, right? And what animation does is it plays around our imagination as children. And it gives us these beautiful colors, this lovely sound, which kind of ties it all together in this really wonderful way and brings us like this. And I know that you guys don't understand French, and that's fine, neither do I. But I would still recommend for you to watch this film. It's made by UNICEF France. It's done in collaboration between Italy and France, the animation and the production. And it's a really beautiful production, huh? So even though you might not, because they don't have subtitles, unfortunately, in English, but you still will be able to carry the plot because you've seen it, because you've read the book, and it'll give you that connection, and make the book flow better for you. So one of the things that I definitely recommend is that you guys, whenever you read a book, and once you've finished it or you're in the middle of it, just Google it. Like Google what is available on it. Like, are there any interviews by the authors that are available? Are there any discussions on the book that are available? And take out an hour and a half of your time and go through them, because that is another way of really, really enriching your academics, And I know that because of COVID, our academic is suffering majorly. So this is one way of making sure that we aren't left too far behind. You know what I mean? So try and study independently as much as you can, because it is going to help you. And we need that. Both Pakistan and Afghanistan, we need to be using education as a tool for empowerment. Anybody else would like to talk about the book?
Yes, for sure. Thank you for suggestions. We will do that and we will serve. Thank you for suggestions. About the story.
Okay, just about the animation, it was so great. I really enjoyed it. Actually, it was like a summary of who the book. Just the part that I liked so much was the part they were in a very bad situation, but they had passion. They were not stopping. They were not giving up, and that was the thing that I really loved. And that was the thing that makes Iqbal and the girls and the character is so special for me. Yes, it's all about this.
True, that's exactly what makes it special for me as well. The fact that children are resilient, and that by coming together for a goal, we can make it happen, we can achieve it. And we should not be afraid of our dreams. We should pursue them, follow them, and we should not be afraid of hardships. We should not be afraid of failures. We should not be afraid of anything. Like, fear itself is a fear that we need to work against. And once we remove fear from our lives, we become absolutely fearless. And when we become fearless, we can achieve anything. And that is one of the most important things that Iqbal teaches us, right? That we need to be absolutely fearless, and we need to be confident, courageous, and willing to sacrifice anything and everything for the greater cause, because that's what he does, right? When he becomes the spokesperson for child labor in this region, he understands the risks, but he does it anyways. Bamyan?
Yes. Yeah, we wrote, when we read the book, we understood that it's not just in Afghanistan or Pakistan that the children work, but it is more worse in Afghanistan. They are small. Children are very small, but they are working a lot. They are working because of economical problem, or they have another problem that they are working. And we students, we decided to teach them because we want to help them. We don't have another we can't do another thing for them. For example, we can't give them money because we don't have that much money to help them, or our country, our government also, the government also cannot help the children, and we all decided to teach them that now we teach them that in the future they themselves should work for themselves, or they to improve them. We decided to teach them. And what's your suggestion? What else we can do for them to help them to deliver the children, to free them from working, and instead of working they have to study or they have to play, because that's their right. And if you have any suggestion, please give us.
So the first and foremost thing that we must bear in mind when dealing with our circumstances is that we are very poor countries who are in a constant state of unrest, right? Either we are in a state of civil war, or we are in a state of violence being unleashed on us through different forms of terrorism and circumstances, which makes it really, really oftentimes impossible for us to have a structured system, right? Where education is must for everybody, where it's free for everybody and accessible and available for everybody. When we talk about free education, we think that we're living in a very civilized world where children do not have to be afraid of being bombed or being shot, or they don't have to fear not having food on the table. You know, we have children who've lost their breadwinners. It could be their parents, it could be their elder brothers or siblings or uncles or aunts who could provide. A lot of these children know that they have to fend for themselves, right? And what happens is, because they are living day to day, moment to moment, a lot of times they forget that they're special, you know? Like, each and every person on planet Earth, by being alive, is special. That belief that we are, because we exist, is something that our children need to have. You know, the first, and I'm so proud of you all for teaching these kids, because it is an invaluable service that you're providing to your country, to your fellow human beings, and to your countrymen, you know, because it is true when we say that if you want to improve a country, educate them, educate everyone, and you will see what they can become. You know, education is like a tree that you plant, and then you feed it and you take care of it with love and affection, and you nurture it, and it grows into this beautiful tree which gives you shelter, which gives you fruit, and which continues to create roots which are so deep that nobody and nothing can uproot it. You know, like, look at your country, Afghanistan. It has gone through, I think, the most turbulent times in current circumstances in the past few decades, right? From the 1979 Soviet War to 2021, you're still struggling with governance. In the last 50 years, you have been uprooted, you have been demolished, you have been attacked, and you have been forced to reshape, but you're still standing. And that in itself is applaudable. And you're still standing because you had roots which were deeply enriched in the soil from where you come from. You know, so the education that your grandfather and your great grandfather and your great grandmother and your grandmother was able to have. And education is not just about going to school. Education also means understanding your existence in this world as an independent, free citizen of the world, where you are equal to anybody and everybody, where what you demand for yourself is what you demand for everyone else across the globe. If today I believe that my daughter needs to be educated, it is because I believe every child on planet Earth must be educated. If today I believe my child, my daughter, given the freedom to play as she pleases, then it is a must that every child on planet Earth should be given the privilege of being able to play. So that is one of the core principles of education, understanding the value of the self. So when you go and you teach your children, let's say if you're teaching them a alphabet or you're teaching them grammar, take out special time, half hour, 45 minutes, every session, where you speak to them about courage, where you speak to them about freedom, where you speak to them about independence, where you speak to them about your history, not this current history, but your true history of being conquerors, of being heroes, of your kings, and of your literature, of your poets, of your writers, where you can tell your children that you have so much to be proud of, because this is who your ancestors were, and this is who we can be, because if they could do it, so can we. So that is one of the most important things that we must do, because what we are trying to do right now is we trying to create a parallel system of education which is not exactly feeding into the mainstream academia. When we sit and talk with you, we don't talk about how to write an essay, but we teach you how to think independently, to be able to write not just one, but 1,000 essays on any subject under the sun, because your minds have evolved enough to be able to look at the world around you and look at your realities and reflect and write. Do you know what I mean? So that is something that we must do. And I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Anything else?
Okay, in the name of Allah, hello everyone. I am Alia, and also I want to say my idea about this book. As you know, that the reason that all children do these hard works in every country or in all countries is being poor, and also we have different ways to fight with them. One is that we can encourage them, and also our government also can help them or can support them, and also we can have some organizations that fight with those people that they use bad from children. And also, as you showed that animation film, it was very interesting, and I got that. Beside this, that we can help or support children by money, we can fight, or one way that we can fight with that situation is being unity. And also, we can start from ourselves to make schools, and also to encourage them and bring them in schools before instead of doing those hard work. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those thoughts. I'd love to have more. I would love for you guys to keep talking and sharing with me. So, Bamyan, tell me more about what you think.
Okay.
Tell me what's going on in your mind.
Okay, hello again. Yes, the question that was asked before, how is the situation of children in our society? It is quite good, but not convenient. It is not like the story of the book, enslaving the children to work for others, but they are taking work or getting somehow from children. In our society, we have four categories of children who are working. The first group, we say them is Pandi. These are small kids, from 3 years old up to 7 and this rich, they are working. Ispan is a kind of plant. They burn it and it has a kind of smell. And in bazaar and those places, it burn and the shopkeepers will pay them 10 offs. And the situation is not so good. If they had, and the main reason that they are doing this and working, because economy situations, economical problems, their family aren't there. For example, there's one person I know, his father died. Uh, he was responsible for all the family and he was 8 years old. An 8 years old kid responsible for the family, it is somehow hard. And the solution could be economical supports if they could have some support from government. For example, government could support their family to stay alive or to I don't know, to the things they need. For example, the things they wear or the things they eat. If government can apply or support them like this, they would have the chance to study, to educate themselves. And if and the main reason they are doing is because economical situation. The second group of children who are working, they are truck unloaders. There are some people also in our situation, as well as the book it was mentioned there, they unload the trucks. And in our society we have the same. There are some children who are working and unloading the trucks just for 10 hours, and that is not, I think that's not enough, because the truck is the things in the truck, they are so heavy, and for children it would be more than heavy and it will damage somehow themselves. And the third, there are some children who are cleaning the shoes, cleaning or shoes or sewing the shoes. This is the third. And the fourth, the children who are working in different places like bakery, restaurant, shops, and these places. Uh, these were the people or the children who are working in our society. And I'm so sad to say this, and unfortunately I am saying, but in my idea, the best solution we could solve this in a short period of time, we could, if we could support them economically, their family, that they could solve their economical problems, that there was not needed to children to work to earn money for their family. They would have the time, they would have the passion, they would have the power to study and to go to school. And the things you said, going to school is not just education, realizing that you're part of the world and you need to enjoy the world and play or have fun like a kid. It could be like education, yes. And if we could support them economically, they would have the chance to be a kid. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And it is heartbreaking. Truthfully, it is heartbreaking to acknowledge that our children suffer so much. And if our children are suffering so much, how can we as a society progress and prosper? Because the children are the future. This is our future, frankly speaking, if we don't shape up. And I just want to agree with you completely that I think it is the economic pressure, it's poverty, it is abject poverty that has turned our circumstances into such. We are just, because of being constantly impacted by war, we have had to suffer financially, and the toll is being experienced by our youth, our children. I just want to throw the idea out there, and I would love for you all to maybe think about this, because you are our future. You know, like I was reading this book that when China was going through its economic change and during its communist days, what China did was that it provided food for the whole of Chinese people. So nobody was allowed to cook at home, whether you were the king or the president or you were a factory worker. So that way, nobody went to bed empty-stomached in China. Everybody stood in queue and was fed by the government, and everybody ate the same food. So what that did was that helped China come up from its abject poverty, where a large number of Chinese population was living below the poverty line and not able to feed themselves, because you took the pressure of food away from them, and food is our basic necessity. If we don't eat, we'll die, right? So when they took that away from them, they saw more and more children coming to schools, because now parents didn't need to worry about sending their children to learn a craft which would feed them, because the government was already feeding them. Now they wanted the children to go and educate themselves so they could improve their lives, which is completely different. You know, like in a perfect system, there is this psychological, it's a model, and it says that you, at the bottom of the pyramid is your basic needs, which includes food, shelter, and water. And then there is, like, as you move up the pyramid, you realize that once your basic needs are taken care of, your specialized needs come in, right? So specialized needs would mean like the kind of house you want to live in, the kind of clothes you want to wear, the kind of food you want to eat. All of these are specialized. But these specialized needs would only come in if your basic needs are taken care of. If you're always empty stomached and always hungry, you will not be thinking about eating something exotic. You will be thinking about just eating something so this hunger in your stomach is abated, you know? So I thought that it was a really interesting model, and it really resonated with me for two things. Because prior to this model, China had a huge disparity between the rich and the poor. So there was a very limited middle class. They were just these really filthy rich people who had gotten rich because of exploitation. And then there were these really poor people who could not even put food on the table, right? Where children were dying because of malnutrition, where children were being born with deformities because of not having enough nutrition for the mother. And all of this added by creating society which was crippled. You know, if you have children who are born today, who have special needs, and your society is crumbling, who's going to take care of their special needs? No one. What will happen to those children? They will become a weight on society. Rather than contributing to it, they will be sponging off it. It's like very simple. So when we think about improvement, when we think about the future, we need to think about equity. We need to think about basic needs, and we need to ensure that our governments are able to provide that for us and our children. And on that note, I'm going to say goodbye from Pakistan. Like always, it was a pleasure sitting and discussing the book with you. We truly hope that by having these discussions, we are opening your minds to different ideas, to different possibilities. As a goodbye note, I would like to encourage each and every one of you to keep thinking, to keep reading, to keep exploring, and to completely always believe in yourselves. And there is a saying that I really like, which is, have a dream, or you will be always following someone else's. On that note, Khudafis from here, Pakistan. Hope to see you next month with another book.